All right, let's talk about something that is, well, it's incredibly frustrating. It's this mystery that haunts businesses, big and small. Why do so many really great, well-thought-out strategic plans just fail?
I mean, seriously, have you ever been there? You're in a big all-hands meeting. There's this incredible new 5-year plan. Everyone's buzzing with energy. And then, just a few months later, it's like it never happened. It's just a file collecting digital dust on a server somewhere. If that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone.
And get this, the research on this is pretty consistent and kind of shocking. Somewhere between 60 and 90% of all business strategies fail when it comes to actually putting them into practice. Yeah, you heard that right. The vast majority of these grand plans never see the light of day. So what on earth is going on here?
To really get to the bottom of this, let's start by looking at big corporations. Because in that world, the problem often starts with this desire to play it safe, which ironically leads them to try to do, well, absolutely everything. This is where we run into something called the strategy dilution trap. And honestly, it's the perfect name for it. It's what happens when a sharp, focused strategy gets watered down, turning it into this generic, bloated wish list. It's designed not to win, but to make sure no single person, department, or stakeholder gets offended.
You know where you see this most clearly? In the language. Vision statements just get stuffed with these buzzwords we've all seen 1,000 times. They're so generic they could describe a bank, a tech startup, or a hot dog stand. They sound impressive, but they don't actually mean anything.
And this isn't just a feeling, right? The data is pretty damning. One study found that less than 5% of corporate vision statements give any kind of clear direction that would help an employee make a decision in their day-to-day job. They're basically useless from a strategic standpoint.
So why does this keep happening? Well, it really boils down to two powerful psychological forces. First up, you've got risk aversion. Executives convince themselves that by covering every single base, they're being thorough, but it's not a strategy, it's just wishful thinking. And second, there's political safety. It's just easier to create a plan that gives a little something to every department because then you avoid the internal battles. It's a way to dodge making the hard and sometimes unpopular choices about what not to do.
Okay, so that's the big corporate world. But the problem looks a little different when we zoom in on smaller, owner-operated businesses. Here, the issue isn't trying to do everything, it's the constant temptation to do anything that pops into your head and seems like a good idea.
This brings us to a really fascinating idea called the owner-operator paradox. Think about it. The very qualities that help an entrepreneur get a business off the ground, being nimble, spotting opportunities, being flexible, those exact same qualities can later become the biggest enemy of long-term strategic focus. The thing that built the business can end up being the thing that breaks its discipline.
And the result of this paradox in action? It's a condition I love called strategic whiplash. The poor team is constantly getting yanked from one priority to another based on the owner's latest big idea. One week it's all about a new product. The next week it's a pivot to an entirely new market, all because of a gut feeling or an article they read on a plane.
And this chart, wow, this really shows the massive disconnect. You look at the data, and something like 90% of small business owners will tell you that strategic planning is absolutely critical. But then, only about 15% actually manage to stick with that plan over time. There's this huge gap between knowing what you're supposed to do and actually doing it.
So why does this happen? A few key reasons. First, there's that emotional ownership. Gut feelings just steamroll the written plan. Then you've got the classic shiny object syndrome, where every new trend is a must-chase opportunity. A huge one is a lack of accountability. There's often no one who can really challenge the owner. And finally, there's just plain old operational overwhelm, where the crisis of the day always seems more important than the long-term strategy. So here's the crucial point. We've just looked at two really different-looking problems, right? The corporate do-everything strategy and the owner's do-anything strategy. But here's the kicker. The solution, the antidote for both of these diseases, is rooted in the exact same thing: discipline. It all boils down to this single, powerful idea. A real strategy isn't just a to-do list. It's a set of choices. And you know what? The most important and powerful choices are often about the things you decide you will not do. The markets you won't enter, the customers you won't serve. It is all about focus.
So for those big corporations stuck in the dilution trap, the cure has 3 steps. Number 1, brutal prioritization. Make an actual list of things your company will stop doing. Number 2, craft a specific, actionable vision with things you can actually measure, not just empty buzzwords.
And number 3, make strategic pruning a regular habit. If a project doesn't fit the core strategy, you cut it. Period. Even if it's making a little money. And for the owner-operator, the cure is all about building that discipline right into the system. That means creating some form of strategic governance, like an advisory board that can actually push back and ask hard questions. It means committing to clear strategic metrics to track your progress against the plan. And it means creating a decision-making framework that forces every new, shiny object to be measured against the strategy before it gets the green light.
Okay, let's wrap all this up, because the central takeaway from this whole thing is really counterintuitive. It's a bit of a mind-bender, but it's probably the most important part.
And here it is. This is the great strategy paradox. The plan that feels so safe, doing a little bit of everything, keeping all your options open, making sure everybody's happy, that is actually the single riskiest thing you can do. It's a guarantee of mediocrity. And the plan that feels risky, making tough choices, saying no a lot, focusing like a laser on one path, that, it turns out, is the safest and surest path to real success.
So that really just leaves one last question for you to think about. For your own team, for your own company. Take a really hard, honest look at your plan. Is it a focused roadmap? Is it defined just as much by the roads you've decided not to take as the one you're on? Or is it just a list of hopeful destinations, a page full of wishful thinking? Because the answer to that question makes all the difference in the world.